you can't hear me, please let me know. So maybe in the next couple of minutes, allow me to go now into the strategy proper. And I know there is this country that we have all decided to go, and the country is called Singapore. So we are on our journey to Singapore. There is somebody who said that we will not stay very long in Singapore because the main journey was to go to Canada. So we are going to Canada through Singapore. And there's so much theory around, is it true that we were intimate at one time? And this gentleman called Rickman has been quoted very many times. One of the time is when he was invited to give the secret for Singapore. And he said that the secret for Singapore is in 3 words. He said it is in M, P, and H. And he said M is meritocracy. Make sure that you have the right people doing the job, meritocracy. And he says you cannot compete in your area of disadvantage. Yes. Number 2 is pragmatism. And he said in pragmatism is that look at the data, appreciate the story, and be true. And then the last one is honesty, or what he called integrity. So today, I don't want to look at that approach, but another time he was asked, so what is the secret for where you have come? What was it? What is the miracle? And he said, just get a few fundamental rights and keep doing them right for an extended time. You will see the miracle. So, in arriving at what is it that Ketsa will focus on, the question was, which are the few fundamentals that if we focus on them, they will create the results that we are looking for. So the next slide that I'll share with you is the strategy at large, the overall strategy of Ketsa. And it is founded on few fundamentals to create a difference. So what is the strategy? The strategy is anchored. This is even worse. Identify what is the real problem. Yeah, so you can hear me? It's a proper diagnosis there. Okay. Yeah, so the strategy is anchored on 5 thematic areas, or what we call the key result areas, or what we consider to be the KPIs for the institution. And one is on membership and networks, and you see how significant it is. So when the secretary was introducing the membership, I counted 1 to 23 the societies that are represented here. That is what the thematic area is looking at. And there is the total population of who can be our potential member societies. How many of those are in a position to join, and how many are out there? That becomes a key thematic area. Unlike in a primary society where recruiting one member is not a main achievement, in Ketsa, just onboarding one society is a major thing, and it requires a lot of effort, engagement, and some of those members, it will be easier to engage them even using the relationship that some of us as delegates we have. And part of that mapping of who are not our members will be using for the purposes of delegates saying, allow me to engage with this particular institution. And part of what we happen to do today is when the concept now tells us, these are the ones who are not our members. There are some that we know that they could be going through different times. So their focus may not be to join today. But remember, Ketsa takes care of the entire family of the teachers' societies for now. The other very important point in this thematic area is who do we partner with? What solutions do we want to create for our member societies? And part of this is what we can see in those exhibition points. And every network should help us scale or provide a solution that is not there. So the numbers for that pillar is membership growth, capacity collaboration, and this is critical. In the entire value chain of the cooperative movement, to the extent that there are certain levels that we have not been able to reach, can we get there through partnership and collaboration? And then, of course, number 3 is to partner. So be able to demonstrate how those numbers have been looking like. Then the second thematic area is on financial sustainability. Allow me to jump in so that I can speak to it in terms of what exactly it is. So thematic area number 3 is a very significant thematic area of advocacy. And like what my chairman Mafanikio was reminding me, what was the original idea? That we did have a mouthpiece. We did not have this central point where we can collect all our issues and present them as an issue of one sector. I believe you are aware, and there are very many sayings that collaborate with this. In my language, I'll put it in my language, and then I'll invite, I should invite my teacher, isn't it? Yes. So I'll put it in my language, and then Director Kiago is going to put it in English. Modo mwete heragirwa njira. Get the mic. Modo mwete heragirwa njira.
I think it is one person is not left at the road.
Now we need to try
one person. One person is not. One person is not given the way.
Appoint a helper. Yes, there's one who looks like Shika. Yes, very good.
You can give it to one person.
You can't give way to one? To begin a coffee. You can't give way to one person, okay? Thabari ya mundu umwe ithiagirwo gutuka. Okay? Thabari ya mundu umwe ithiagirwo gutuka. Who want to try? Now this is democracy now. So you have heard the first one means you cannot give way to one person. You cannot give way to one person. Director, who want to try? Okay, yes. Peter want to try. Okay. You can only walk alone when there is no alternative. You can only walk alone alternative. And then the last one is this, Kamuike Koya Gadiri. Kamuike, Unity? Very good. So, advocacy is a product of how many people are you representing. Yes, unity is strength. Kamuike Koya Gadiri. And you know, those who are well thought sayings, yeah, and you know, there was a very heavy thing. Nakumbuka zile vitu zenye zilikuwa zinatengeneza ile, you know, all those things, and they were very heavy. For as long as you're united, and that is your motto, you will overcome any manner of obstacle. So for advocacy, you are interested in a number of things. Number one is policy and legislation framework. I'm very happy that part of what we'll be discussing tomorrow is what are these recommendations by the Committee of Experts. Are they all good? What is it that needs to be implemented immediately? What is it that needs to be modified? Because the lead experts of the movement are here seated with us. So you cannot struggle when there is a policy or legislation change. And then of course, the other one is public relations. I am very happy that we have a Sacco here for Kupet and all those other institutions. And they will tell us that relationship management is a superior strategy to fighting, isn't it? Yeah, and all of us know that even from our experience with our union. And that means that we'll be creating forums where you bring together the stakeholders so that the stakeholders can speak to the issues. You'll be part of what you'll be doing is to front engagement with the lead stakeholders. Number 4 is Center of Excellence. And this is a very heavy discussion with very interesting conversations. One of the conversations is the training and capacity building. So you see a lot of activities around how do we provide relevant trainings. And those of being from the background of teaching, we know the role of training need assessment, effective training methodologies, equipping Ketsa so that it becomes a center for excellence. Number 2 is industry benchmark and standards. So for the industry benchmarks, it's looking at, can we identify what are the best practices? And then can we go to the next level of standardization? And I want you to start thinking of certain institutes. We participate in very many awards. We participate in what we call the COIA. We participate in the corporate governance test. We participate in the Ushirika. What kind of awards and standards can we establish as a sector so that we position the sector and we introduce the right standards for operating even at our local institution. And then of course consultancy and research. Then the last one is institutional capacity strengthening, rooted from this simple perspective that no organization can do what it desires to do if it does not look internally and see what capacity it needs to create. So a lot of training of the stakeholders, infrastructure development, and the infrastructure development, you'll be looking at even the ICT infrastructure that you need and other infrastructures that you may need to develop. And then of course, an institution that is properly governed. And that is what we are calling the operational efficiency and the capacity of the people working for the institution, right from even the numbers and the organogram. Now, there is what we say in strategy, that they are the lead measures and the lag measures on the resultants. So if you do number 1, 3, 4, and 5, they should all hit the dashboard. They should hit the dashboard. And the dashboard is the financial stability. So number 1, 3, 4, and 5, we refer to them as the predictors. And number 2 is referred to as the resultant. You do the predictors, and the results will be seen. So in other words, number 2 is an outcome. It is what is created by number 1, 3, 4, and 5. And that is the end of the strategy. A very big document is anchored on 1 page. And I even want to invite you, even back home, go see whether you can summarize your strategy into one page, because it is possible. There is nothing we are going to say about this strategy that is not anchored on this. In fact, any other thing is, then how do we operationalize this? I want to find out from you whether you think these pillars are sufficient to move the institution to the next level. Or even, by the way, not even to move it, but to build the resilience that we have been talking about. So I can now help you appreciate how each and every pillar is structured. So pillar number 1 is on membership and network. And part of it was grow membership by 4 new members each year to 2027. Of course, if our constitution doesn't open up, we have a limited population from which we could source. And like I said, this is one of the challenges. And I know when we were doing the review with the board, we still identified the 4, and we have noted that recruiting one is not a joke. It takes a lot of effort, and maybe part of the ask will be, which are these institutions that are still out that you as a delegate, us as delegate, we have proximity, we have a relationship, and maybe we could leverage on your relationship to onboard them. I know one of the questions that chairman would be asked by the delegate, who is still out? Then you could see somebody say, leave that to me, I'll take it up for you. Number 2 is that never lose a member that you have onboarded. So 100% retention of current member. And the saying was, 1 person is too many to exit. Because 1 member exiting is not like an ordinary member exiting from a society. But even then, even from ordinary societies, exit should be managed. Number 3 is keep the members active, and active in all the parameters of business. And I believe even today, the number that is here is a demonstration that we have a good number of our members that are still active. And this is the meaning of patronage, 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 patronage. And then number 4 is work with partnership. So this is to mean, make sure that you can find out the gaps, the needs that are within our member institution, and see which partner you can onboard for the purposes of filling that void. So partners come as enablers of our value creation, and they should be identified carefully and onboarded in a very structured manner. Yeah, so that is as far as that thematic area is concerned. And I know possibly the question that you'll be asking, and it is an important question, is whether that thematic area looks focused, and whether these things that I mentioned here, if they are done, they are source of value, whether they are the predictors of the success we are looking for. So the next pillar that is closely related to it, although it is a resultant, is the financial sustainability objective. And the parameters of growth that were identified, one was the asset growth. It had started in the year 2023, why I have taken the 2026 and 2027 is because this is the remaining period. So the assets were targeted to grow at a percentage of 25% and 20%, of course, because when the base grows, the volume may increase, but the percentage growth may drop. That's a natural growth. Looking at what we call the S shape. So I will be demonstrating how the assets have grown over the time. Then the other area is institutional capital, and this is critical. As you grow this institution, you grow the institution as an institution that is going for regulation, as an institution that is ready for licensing. You actually grow it the way asking if the regulator was to come in, which would be the areas of interest for the purposes of licensing. And all of us seated in this room appreciate the value of institutional capital. Then of course grow revenue, and revenue is a product of the things we have said here. Revenue is grown because of number 1, 2, actually all of these feed to revenue growth. Then of course an efficient institution is always better. An institution that manages its cost increases its competitive advantage. And cost consciousness is one of the things that was put as a target. And cost to income ratio is the measure. Number 5, ensure full matching of cost and revenue. This is number 4 and 5 are more or less related. Number 6 is to protect. Remember, good governance is about create, grow, and preserve. So how do you preserve? You make sure that the internal control systems are good. And then of course, again, number 6 has repeated itself. So where are we currently? These are the numbers. So in terms of membership, we are at 28. In the year 2022, there were 24 members. By the closure of last year, 28. So remember what you measure? You measure the numbers and the activity level. So all of these, if they were to be very active, patronage, and we propose that we can maintain a scorecard of how active are our members as a way of communicating how we are feeding into the growth of the institution. The share capital, that is how it grew. The deposits, that's how they grew. And the revenue, that is how it grew. Then in terms of total assets, that is how they behaved from 2022 to 2025, institutional capital. Cost to income, just hit the target by 0.1%, and then the number of active members is at 25 as per 2025. And these are good measures. These are very good measures to establish whether the institution is reaching out, it is still relevant to its owners. And of course, the same can be represented graphically. You can see the story that the membership is giving, the story that the share capital is giving, the story that the deposits are giving, and the story that the revenue is giving, and then the story that the total asset is giving. Yeah, so what would be one statement that you make about what the graphs are telling us? This is more or less a dashboard. Just run through the dashboard again, just for you to pick a story. There's what we call the financial storytelling. It's a very good way of communicating what you understand. So, deposits, storytelling, revenue, what story is the graph telling, and then the total asset, and even the institutional capital. So what is the story? Yeah, there is? Okay, yeah. This is what everybody is saying, and I was almost here, but I wanted to find a specific response. My co-trainer, the mic. So who want to give the story. Yes.
So the Joe, I think from the data,
Yes.
we can see that there is a consistent growth.
There is consistent growth. And that's something very positive, isn't it? Yeah, and especially growth on the fundamentals. So you could argue that the fundamentals of the institution are intact. And you can see the behavior of this table is also good, isn't it? Because this one should go on the decline. Some effort, but not yet there, but a good story as well. And even the story for the contributing members is also a good story. So I want to, you have a comment? Oh. Anybody with a comment? I make progress? Right. So the targets were high, the desire was big, but the reality that is what we are able to achieve. So then the other pillar was on lobby and advocacy, and the strategic objective were to continuously raise awareness and directly engage with decision makers. Now we can pause there. We certainly know who are the decision maker, and Ketsa has done a very good job in terms of mapping them. Keep listening to what is it that they are thinking about, and how their thinking has a tendency to influence the behavior of the entire movement. And then, of course, prompt on issue affecting teacher-based institution, remaining faithful to why you are formed. And then, of course, the recognition of the institution as best positioned organization to be the teacher-based Sacco federation in Kenya when the new cooperative bill becomes an act of parliament. And this is not going to be an easy job. You know that, isn't it? It's not going to be an easy job. It is going to be a product of serious advocacy. And it is at that time, the sayings that I had come up with, that you cannot give way to one person. You walk at night alone. No, you walk alone only when there is no alternative. And that it is the many that will live a heavy road will come to make sense. But this is a continuous journey. In fact, if there is one area where the beauty of this is that it is not in a contested environment. If you could map everything that Ketsa does, this is one of the areas where it is not in a contested environment as far as the existence of the institution is concerned. And it is one thing that is enshrined in the Bill of Rights, the right to associate. And it is very difficult to give or to take away from anybody their right to associate. So when all is said and done, Ketsa has very intact reasons for existence that are not in regulatory space. Number three rather, is the center of excellence. And I like them because if you look at other institutions, even sometimes if you look at internally for banks, you see banks that have really good capacity. They have even started their own learning institutions. We got to Cobank, we got to KCB, sorry. So this is one of, you can now start thinking of certifications, standards. You can start thinking of, end of year awards based on good practices and the principles of good governance. I have seen some of our societies who participate in the choir one, but when I look at the KPIs, sometimes they could differ a little. And so what I see as a common tendency is to map institutions based on what they are doing. You could think of your own. Number two is ensure that as you continue to increase the activities that you are engaging in movement, you are also keen on the quality. And this is some hard work. When we sat with the board, it was a serious conversation. quality over quantity. But I also know something, is that when you increase the quality, you create demand, and so therefore you enhance quantity. And once you enhance quality and quantity, you hit the dashboard. You hit the dashboard. Number 3 is create a resource hub. This is an investment. And we ask, is it possible that we can have this point of research that is domiciled in Ketsa, that we could even be appropriating all the information available anywhere, including somebody who is seated here and is taking us through, the e-learning courses, telling us what the Harvard University is saying about how the world will look like by the year 2050, whether we are about to experience another evolution of human beings. By then, do we expect that to happen? See, we evolved from the apes. I want to hear whether there is going to be another evolution. Nilisoma kitabu ilikuwa inaitwa Mashetani. Mashetani ilikuwa inasema kilichozaliwa ni kizuri kuliko kilichozaa. So whether the next evolution is going to be physical or it is going to be the brain, but certainly it's going to happen, isn't it? Just think of how AI is going to transform our lives. It will transform our lives in a manner that we possibly not recognize many things. And some of the things that we are doing today look so old. So who is going to prepare us for the future that is coming? And that was the idea behind a resource hub. Capacity building the movement to be future ready. And then of course, we have talked about the Ketsa Award, and then finally, whether it is possible to have a fully fledged consultancy and research arm at Ketsa. That is as far as, this is also tied to institutional capacity. Does it look good, by the way? These are thoughts, and these are strategic issues. Some of them I am seeing them being carried to the next strategy, because some of them they are yet to be accomplished. Some of these discussions we are having here, when you go back home, you can see the way the CEO Cosmopolitan is looking at me. When you go home, think deeply about them. In fact, just ask yourself this question: how would 2040 look like, and are we preparing for it today? And then the other thematic pillar is institutional capacity strengthening. And this is looking within and saying we cannot carry a load heavier than the institution. You have seen many times, any time an organization tries to do that which it has not been prepared to do, there will be a problem. So before you step out to do anything, you first of all look within and say, what capacity do we need so that we can have this, we can manage this kind of an activity. And this is very, very important. It is looking at the people factor, looking at the structural factor, anything that is requisite. Let me share with you an experience we had some few weeks ago in my county, Switzerland. So a society wakes up in the morning and they discover that their data has been encrypted. Now you get to know how resilient you are when you are facing a serious challenge or crisis. For me, that was an unfamiliar territory, and I could feel a bit helpless. When you're providing leadership in an area where you have no competence. But it was so exciting how that challenge was navigated. By the end of the 5th day, we celebrated, those of us who watched the movie, what was the name of the movie where the Israelites attacked Uganda? It was called what? The act was not? Yes, what was the name of the movie? Entebbe, the Entebbe raid. Yes, the Entebbe raid. So the Entebbe raid, if you've seen the celebration of victory, that is the kind of celebration that we had. So institutional capacity is a very powerful thing, because at the time of your adversity, it is what determines how you be left standing. And for me, it was very exciting. And every organization that is represented here, one day or the other, it will go through some testing of a kind. By the way, do you believe that? Some testing of a kind. It could be ICT, it could be something different. You build institutional capacity so that that particular time when you are shaken, you can stand. And that for me was a very exciting moment, and I always have that as very satisfying. Institutional capacity. Part of the institutional capacity during that particular time was the competence of the people handling the crisis. If you do not have the right people, then you have no institutional capacity. So think about even the issue to do with the ICT infrastructure. So, and the deliverable, one of the deliverable is that there should be a capital budget that is supporting how you develop secure and scalable infrastructure, so that as you keep on advancing the value, you're also looking within to see what is the capacity. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the strategy for Ketsa. It is anchored on 5 thematic areas, one of it being membership and networks, financial sustainability, lobbying and advocacy, center of excellence, and institutional capacity. And our work is to plug into any of these pillars and help the institution achieve. I submit. So I am ready to respond to any question, any comment, any clarification that you need before I hand over to the MC. You can do what Sitati is doing with his neighbor. You can consolidate the question and ask it as well. Yeah. So can I suggest that if there is no particular question for me, I hand over the mic to the MC.